Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? Thank you very much. Thank you for being here and being so well behaved and well dressed, and for sitting in the center and not down low, where it's very nice for people to be able to make eye contact with you, because that's a good way to address your speaker. Welcome to the first, hopefully annual AP Seminar Symposium. You are our inaugural presenters, and we're very happy to have you here today, and very honored to have our guests here today. And without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. All right. Our first speaker is Allison Zhu. She is a former teacher and an entrepreneur. She's CEO of a company called Z Labs 3D. And she is here to talk about how her industry has been affected by technology and AI and how she uses it every day in her career. So, if you would be so kind as to give a warm welcome to Ms. Zhu, I'd appreciate it.
So this is my first time talking into a microphone, so forgive me. So I'm Allison, and I like 3D printers. Has anyone ever heard of a 3D printer? Wow, you guys are the most exposed group I've ever spoken to. But yes, our short name is Z Labs 3D. The official name of our company is Zhumeister Labs, but as you can hear, that's quite a mouthful. There's actually a story behind that. So my husband started this company, Michael, and Zhumeister was the nickname that one of his previous co-workers gave to him because why not, you know? But yeah, eventually I told him that's enough, no one can spell it or say it, so we are Z Labs. And I'm not good at PDFs. See, I told you I'm not good at videos. All right. So I'm going to talk about our journey a little bit. So like I said, husband started the business. It was actually a basement business. So this was kind of his side hustle. He got into it because he really liked making custom 3D printed drones. So he was torturing me and my cats with that for about 4 to 5 years. And then, during the pandemic, 3D printing actually really picked up, and it was kind of like so much pie that we were choking on it, and that was just him and me doing this in our spare time, working full-time jobs. And then, of course, like every other software professional in, the pandemic, everyone got laid off. And so he asked to go and start this business, and I said, you've got 3 months to prove that we're not going to go bankrupt, and he did it. So now I run his company for him. So this is obviously not my first career. I used to be a math teacher at Duluth High School, and I did that for about 4 years, and then got into software doing really low-level phone customer service, which was the worst job I've ever had. Absolutely, I don't recommend it, but it was an excellent way to learn how to problem solve under pressure, for the record. So maybe do it once and then move along. After that, I started kind of finding weird ways to teach my coworkers how to be better at their jobs, and so I ended up becoming the internal trainer at that company, basically teaching them how to use the software that they're selling, because most of them didn't know how to talk to the customers or sell the software correctly because they were selling pipe dreams. And then after that, I got bored, so I went to work in some data science role at this big company that did sales to automotive manufacturers. So has anyone ever heard of Porsche? Has anyone ever heard of Mercedes-Benz? Yeah, okay. So the fancy ones. I basically pulled data from very dark places of the internet to tell them where to sell their cars. That was the end of what I did. Did that for a few years, and then somehow found myself being an accounting manager, and that was short-lived and boring. And now I'm here. So, yeah. Thank you for those. So, like I said, 3D printing, that's what we do. I'm actually the only person at my company who cannot use a 3D printer, or at least not well. I can do it, but I've been told not to. No touching for me. But as y'all probably know, it's getting a lot easier for the average Joe to 3D print, right? Who has a 3D printer? Oh, yeah. Who has touched a 3D printer? Well, good. And most of you have obviously heard of them. So that tells me that, yes, it's a lot easier, because it used to be the type of thing where it took you like 30 minutes just to get the bed level, or just get rid of all the errors, or even get your stuff to stick onto the plate, right? It's awful. But now we have cool companies like Bamboo Labs. I'm not an affiliate of theirs, so I'm not making any money off of that. But the Bamboo is actually an innovator in our industry, because it's made it so much easier to do a very complex task. And other printer manufacturers are catching up with this. And the easier it gets for you guys, then the harder it gets for me, right? Because why would you pay our company to do what you could do yourself, right? So that's where we're going here. It's getting harder, not just to sell stuff, but also to keep up and find ways that we can not go out of business because everyone has a 3D printer, right? And so we have to be faster. Our quality has to be so much better. And actually, our company has won awards for continuous improvement and quality, because a lot of people that find their way to my shop, they're like, why is yours so much prettier than mine? And I'm like, that's a great question. I have somebody who works for me that can probably help me with that. So that's what we do. Better, faster, stronger. Offering new materials that maybe desktop printers can't utilize, because not everyone has $10,000 for a Stratasys printer, right? So. And can we see the future? Nope, we can't. But the more accessible everything becomes, we have to innovate. And I employ people that they're just full of ideas. I'm actually the cynic at my company, but everyone else that works for me is a big dreamer. They all have ideas, they all know how to MacGyver things together and fuse things together in ways that I am not good at doing. And that's how we come up with new things. And we talk, we collaborate. Actually, 3D printing, the reason I love it is because all the other manufacturers in the industry want to work together. It's not cutthroat like other industries where people are fighting and clawing at each other and just trying to get to the top. And that's how we progress. I am interested to see what you guys have to say, because how is AI going to get into 3D printing? And it already is on some level, but how is it really going to change the technology and the hardware that we're utilizing? That's my question for you guys. Maybe someone can answer it in like 5 to 10 years, or now, if you're a genius. So. Any immediate questions? Yes, ma'am. Can you speak a little louder, please? Oh, there's a microphone. That's better. I don't like talking that loud either.
Do you use AI to make the blueprints for your 3D printers?
So we actually don't make our own 3D printers. But that's a good question for companies like Bamboo Labs, Reality, things like that.
Sorry, I meant like the models inside.
We don't, but we have 3D printed for customers who have created AI-generated models. Right now, I don't know if you're very familiar with it, but there are a couple of tools out there. They're still very immature. So they don't do quite what you would expect them to do given the prompts that you're feeding to them. And sometimes it's very reaching and it's very difficult to correct it, or you have to face the challenge of actually fixing the nodes that it's feeding back to you, because it is all nodes and faces and things like that. Good question. Yes, sir.
How would you guys compare yourself to like a JLC or PCB way?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
How would you compare yourself to like a JLC PCB or a PCB way?
I don't know what that is.
Specializes in making CNC machining.
I'm not sure, in all honesty. Like, I understand what CNC is, but I am not familiar with the other technology. I apologize. We're only FDM at my company. Sorry. One in the back.
What CAD software do you use?
We use a couple of different types. Fusion 360 is reliable and it's industry standard for a lot of designers. We don't have a SolidWorks license because money, lots and lots of money, but we have a third party that we feed certain things out to. But the reason we stick with Fusion is because it has the really good like scenario testing that you can do, where you can work with like physics and figure out like, okay, is this going to crack under force, things like that.
Okay.
Do you have a question? You have a question? We have time for one more, I think.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so in the sorry, I'm kind of okay. So in the field of like creating 3D printing materials and different stuff like that, I know you said it's like not really competitive, but is there like any like competitiveness in the industry at all?
Yes, there is. When I say it's not competitive, it means that my competitors, the leaders that run these other big 3D printing companies, they are not competitive in an aggressive way with each other. There's plenty of business, and there is still an edge of competitiveness when it comes to pricing, because, I mean, that's the bottom line for the average consumer, right? So everyone's trying to save a buck, and I guess we can talk about bottom barreling. You get a lot of people who are just getting started who realize that if they're the cheapest thing on the market for whatever price you've offered them to print their stuff, that they'll get the business because it's a very easy decision to make. But the way that you can maintain your competitive edge while not, sacrificing all the profit is to offer the quality and the customer experience and essentially help people with their journey, more of like a boutique style offering of services. Good question. All right, and I think I've been excused, so thank you for your patience with me.
Thank you so much. She's going to stay with us all day. She's going to see some of her presentations, and she will be with us at lunch as well. Hopefully we'll be able to take any additional questions, or she can make any other remarks that she'd like to make then, okay? Many of you know the woman sitting right here next to me. Welcome back, Ms. Crunk. You may not realize that she is an AI specialist. She is making the speaking circuit with educators about AI in education. So she is, aside from being a favorite teacher alum, she is also highly eminently qualified to talk about this as well. So, welcome, Ms. Crump.
you have talked about it today or thought about it at all, but ChatGPT was released in November of 2022. So here we are in November of 2024, almost exactly 2 years from when it was released. And in the past couple of years, right, we've seen this explosion of generative AI tools, machine learning models, right? It's infiltrating all kinds of industries, including education, of course. And there are a lot of predictions, right? A lot of people making predictions about how AI is going to impact the world. But instead of getting into those predictions, what I kind of want to do is go back in time a little bit and look at some other predictions that have been made in the past about other human innovation to kind of give us a little bit of context. So in 360 BCE, Socrates said, "If men learn writing, it will implant forgetfulness in their souls. They will cease to exercise memory because they rely on that which is written, calling things to remembrance no longer from within themselves, but by means of external marks." So 360 BCE, Socrates predicts that the written word will cause men to just, or humankind, mankind, to just not have as much knowledge within themselves because they're relying on the written word to contain that knowledge. Then in the late 1800s, Alfred Nobel invented dynamite. And in 1897, he was quoted as saying, "Perhaps my factories will put an end to war sooner than your Congresses. On the day that two army corps can mutually annihilate each other in a second, all civilized nations will surely recoil with horror and disband their troops." Then in 1946, a bit of a lighter topic here, Darryl F. Zanuck was an executive at 20th Century Fox, and he said television won't be able to hold on to any market it captures after the first 6 months. People will soon get tired of staring at a plywood box every night. So these examples illustrate the fact that humans are notoriously bad at predicting the future. And our first speaker, Allison, alluded to that as well. We can't see the future. So instead of trying to predict the future of AI, let's take a quick look instead at, especially within the context of education, where technology has been in education and where it's at now. So calculators, isn't this adorable? It was one of the first scientific calculators released in the 1970s, called the Little Professor. So calculators were introduced in the 70s, and around like 1975-ish, there was a survey that was done among teachers and members of the general public. And 72% of the people surveyed said that it was not appropriate for 7th graders to use calculators. Within 1 to 2 years, another survey was given, and after that survey, or according to that survey, 84% of teachers wanted to use calculators in their classroom. And we can, see that pattern, right? Whenever technology is introduced to the classroom, from the personal computer, the calculator, etc., it's always met with an abundance of caution, and rightfully so. But there's often some fear involved as well. But then there's adoption, and then there's evolution. Something more recent, there was a study that was released by Stanford University in 2023. So this is the year after ChatGPT hit the scene. And in this study, they sent out a survey. It was an anonymous survey that they gave to high schoolers, asking them questions about academic integrity and cheating. And between 60 to 70% of students who took this anonymous survey said that they had at some point cheated in their academic career. Now, this same study was done prior to ChatGPT coming out. So before generative AI was ever available to the public, they conducted basically a similar study and found that 60 to 70% of students said that they had cheated. So in other words, the numbers did not move whatsoever. ChatGPT did not change the needle in cheating. Whether or not it will in the future, we don't know, we can't see it. But what they said in their study was, this is a quote from their study, they said, "We know from our research that when students do cheat, it's typically for reasons that have very little to do with their access to technology." One more study, I'm sure some of you will probably want to find this and email it to some of your teachers. It says, "Fewer students are benefiting from doing their homework in 11 years study." So what they found was In 2008, they found that of all the students who reported doing their homework, it improved test scores for 86% of them. So 86% of kids in 2008 who did their homework got higher test scores. Same study, fast forward to 2017. Out of all of the students who reported doing their homework, only 45% of them saw an increase in their test scores. Now, why do you think that is? If you've got two groups of kids who are both doing their homework, why do you think the impact on their test scores dropped? If you have a thought, you can call that out. It's okay. Any hypotheses? Any ideas?
They're cheating.
They're cheating? Okay. What do you mean by cheating?
Like, they're not doing it by themselves, so they don't really memorize it, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like,
Where would they be getting it from if they're not doing it themselves?
it depends on the year, that it was, I kind of just
2017.
2017, and then what was that one?
The initial one was 2008.
2008, and what was the decrease, the 2017 one?
Yeah, so it went from 86% saw improvement in 2008 to only 45% saw improvement in 2017.
Yeah.
In their test scores.
It might be due to the calculator, I wouldn't know that.
Calculators, so some form of technology, another thought?
Browser could be more like widespread, like Google could be more like a tool used by general public. So we just like look up on answers more frequently in 2017 in 2008. So
Exactly. And that's what they said in their study. They said a majority of students are now getting their answers from the internet. Now, I know you use the term cheating, right? And that might come to the forefront for most of us. But in their study, this is what they said. There is no reason to believe that the student, obviously there could be, pockets of kids who are cognizant or believe they're cheating and do it anyway. But they said there's no reason to believe that the students, at least the majority, are aware that their homework strategy lowers their exam score. They make the common sense inference that any study strategy that raises their homework score will raise their exam score as well. But at the end of the day, any educator, any cognitive neuroscientist will tell you that it's in the act of having to recall information, it's in the productive struggle of having to figure it out and problem solve. That's how our brain builds those neural pathways, that's how our brain learns. And while technology like Google, like generative AI can assist us in making those connections, it can't replace that process for us. We still have to do the work. So there's 4 things that I think it's important to remember about AI. The first one is that AI is 100% human generated, right? So as AI finds its way deeper and deeper into education, into business, into healthcare, and even into law enforcement, that means that it is becoming, we're not making predictions, but it is becoming more frequent for generative AI to be involved in making decisions on your behalf, making decisions for you, or having AI factor into that decision-making process. So we want to remember that even if you have an AI model that trains another AI model that trains another AI model, at the very beginning of that chain, we have human beings, right? We have their programs, their code that they wrote, their human data, our human data, and the human biases that went into those programs. Another thing to remember about AI is that AI understands the world statistically. So it understands things as data and patterns. Whereas human beings, we understand the world conceptually, right? As experiences and emotions. And so that's why AI is really good at replicating human creativity and imitating it. But at the end of the day, what it's doing is looking at the statistical data that it has and imitating what it's learned about human creativity. But AI, at least for right now, is not, and of course there are many who, this could be a topic to argue for the ages, but AI is technically not innately creative because it doesn't understand the world conceptually like you and I do. Another thing to remember is that AI is essentially a probability machine. It's giving you outputs that it calculates has the highest probability of being accurate. And one more thing to remember is that, whenever I get to train teachers on AI and show them how it can, yes, save them time, which is always exciting, but not in general, it can actually also make them even better teachers and allow them to do those things that they want to do that they just don't have the time to in terms of preparing lessons and activities for their students. And I see the excitement that blooms in their eyes, right? Anybody who sees what AI can do, even in just regular life, gets excited about the potential of it. But we have to remember that AI is not accomplishing the impossible. It's essentially a highly accelerated version or type of human capacity. So in other words, AI and generative AI is doing exactly what humans can do, it's just doing it much faster and accelerating our progress. So I want to go back, as I get to the end here, I want to go back to those 3 predictions, those 3 human innovations that I brought up at the beginning, right? So we have writing, the written word, which has made education globally accessible, but it's also led to misinformation. It's used for misinformation, right? We have dynamite, which has been used to build infrastructure and the transcontinental railroad, all of that. But it's also been used to bring destruction and end human life. We have television, or now streaming, right, which has made information and current events ubiquitous. Everybody, well, not everybody, but people all over the world, the majority of people around the world have access to that information. But it's also increased commercialism through advertising. So every single one of these innovations has one common denominator, and that common denominator is humans, right? Because we are the ultimate arbiter of whether technology will help us or harm us. We make those decisions in how we develop them, how we program them, and how we use them. So I want to end with not a prediction, but a hope for the future of AI. Some of you might know his face. Does anybody know who he is? Khan Academy, yes. Many of you know him well. Some of you happily, some of you not so happily. But I want to share this quote from Sal Khan about AI. He said the most powerful use case, and perhaps the most poetic use case of AI, is if AI can be used to enhance HI, human intelligence, human potential, and human purpose. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Hey, thank you so much. We're going to have one more speaker for this time, and then our 4th and 5th speakers will speak at lunchtime, so we have a little bit more time then. And all of these wonderful women in technology will be able to answer questions then too. So right now I'd like to introduce to you the Director of Technology Services. She has been a teacher, of course, and has been an administrator in 5 schools, and now she's a director at the system level. So please welcome Amy Darwaza.
Well, good morning. Do you guys know Mr. Cochran? That's my brother-in-law. Yeah. He loves it here. So good morning, everyone. As she mentioned, my name is Amy Darwaza, and I am the Director of Instructional Technology Services at Gwinnett County Public Schools. I have over 19 years in public education, and I have had the pleasure of working in various roles. From teaching, I taught middle school though, not high school, so I taught math and science in middle school. And then I was an assistant principal and at Trigo Middle School and then Burkhart Middle School, so I was able to deal with both of those locations, which was really fun. Today I'm really excited to share my journey with you. If I can find the mouse, here we go. And some insights on, how AI and technology has evolved in education. But first, let me tell you a quick story. So back in 2005, were you guys even born then? No. Okay. So I'm really old. That's when I
teaching. And that I was a 6th grade teacher at Trico, like I mentioned. I was full of enthusiasm, I was excited, I was nervous, and my first year of teaching was very challenging. At first I had no idea how to manage a classroom of 30 students, especially middle school students. Do you guys have any middle school siblings? Yeah? Okay. Sometimes they can be a little crazy, so my classroom looked kind of like this. I didn't really know what I was doing. It was scary. But I eventually learned that in order to manage a classroom, I had to engage students, right? They had to be excited about learning. And so I started to introduce technology and things like music.
Round and round it goes, where it stops, nobody knows. There's no telling how the night goes. It's called a cycle. It's all about routes changing, rearranging, always on the move, 'cause you never find a groove. Deep down in the ground, high back, can be found.
So you can't tell I taught her science, right? That's the best science, I love it. So we would do things like phones, and we would play, and we would introduce technology in the classroom. I really did my best to engage the students in the learning so that it was fun for them, because if learning's not fun, what's the point, right? And that's right. Over the years, I moved into my leadership roles, and I took on my current role in 2023 in May, so it hasn't been very long. In my current role, I focus on the integration of technology to enhance teaching and learning across the whole district. I also support our technical training department, which creates training for staff on various technologies, like how many of you guys know Securely? Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, we train on that, sorry. And we help bring that to the classroom. So we also do Parent Square, things like that. We help support those things. Right now, education is going through a major transformation, thanks to the advancements in technology. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is leading that charge. It's offering new tools to boost productivity and automate many tasks. AI is being used to streamline administrative tasks and manage data more efficiently, and support teachers in creating engaging lessons, or hopefully they are. For students, it's able to do things like personalized learning and meet the needs of each student, and allowing them to have choice in what they do. For example, maybe you would rather create a rock cycle song rather than maybe write a poem. So it allows you to do things like that, even if you don't have any music background, because AI can build it for you. Imagine having more time to focus on the things that you love. For us, it would be teaching and learning. For you, it might be something different, but AI is allowing time to be able to do that because of that automation process. And it's handling a lot of the paperwork that we typically used to have humans have to do. Looking ahead, AI's role in education will only grow. We need to prepare for a future where AI not only supports, but also enhances the educational experience of our students. This means that we have to invest in the professional development for our educators, ensuring that all students have access to technology and fostering a culture of innovation in our schools, like in your school, right? We have a lot of innovation here. So let's talk about where AI is going and what it's currently doing as it relates to robots. How many of you have heard of Eve? You guys have seen Eve? Yeah? So, if I can get her to play, maybe not. Okay, well, it doesn't want to play, so I'll just talk about it. So this is Eve, and she's, I think it's 1X is doing her, I can't remember off the top of my head. But she's doing her own little infomercial for YouTube, YouTube short, I guess. And she's creating and baking cookies for Christmas or holiday or whatever. And her movements, if you could see it, her movements are so smooth. I mean, when you think about when robots first started coming out, they're really kind of jerky with their movements. Very, very smooth. And then next to her is Neo. How many of you have heard of Neo? You ready? So that's new. And they are piloting Neo in houses right now to do tasks like cleaning, cooking, things like that. And again, very, very smooth movements. It's not the jerkiness that used to be with robots, so it's coming a long way. So for us in education, we have to prepare students for this future, because this is where it's going. We're heading in this direction. So it's a big task for us to have to do that. We have to figure out ways in which we can help our teachers understand this technology and prepare you all for this world where AI is going to be at the forefront. For y'all, as students working on AI-related research projects, you are really at the forefront of this transformation. Your work in fields like healthcare, law, environmental conservation, just to name a few, is not only impressive, but also crucial for our future. By exploring how AI can be applied in these areas, you are helping to develop solutions that can have a profound impact on our society. So really think of yourselves as the superheroes of tomorrow, using AI as your guide. So the future of technology is very bright, and you all have a vital role in shaping it. And we're excited to see all the things that you're going to be presenting to us today. So I just want to encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep innovating, and use your curiosity to drive the progress and make a difference in our world. And remember that every great innovation starts with a single idea. So it could be one of you today that come up with that one single idea that changes something in this world. I want to leave you with one quote from Albert Einstein, where he says, "The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination." So just remember that in your future. Thank you. I'm not on the technical side of AI, I'm on the instructional side, so if you have technical questions, I'm not the one to ask. Okay, well thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, we'll have more time for I'm so impressed by these women in technology and their knowledge and their industry. It's just amazing. So, and now they're going to get to hear from you. Are you ready? You are ready. I know you are. I heard really good things about you guys from your teachers. So, okay. So our schedule now, we are just perfect on time. The bell is going to ring in 6 minutes. You are going to report to session 1. Everybody know where to go? Any questions about where to go? I'll take care of it. Okay, one last reminder. If you are an audience member for session 1 and a teacher needs you, please go to that teacher. You know if you're needed. You know if you have something you're supposed to do for that teacher. Please report to your teacher for session 1 instead of to the session if you have to. Otherwise, you're expected to be a member of the audience for the other teams presenting. Same thing goes for session 2. Dr. Armistead, Ms. Pulliam, Dr. Hicks, is there anything else you guys want to add? Anything you want to say? Okay. So we have a few minutes. As soon as the bell rings, you guys can report to your session. Good? Just sit tight for a few minutes. Thank you.